This is the Tigers Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Detroit Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Woof, what a disaster. Tigers get absolutely blown out 12-5, and that's not even indicative, the final score that is, of how ugly it was, because the Tigers messed around and scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th when it was 12-2 heading to the 9th. So we'll break it all down. Welcome into the live Locked On Tigers postcast. I am your host, Jake Riepma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma. Thanks for making the Locked On Tigers postcast your post-game destination. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and of course on YouTube. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every day. There's some serious issues with the starting pitching of the Detroit Tigers. How concerned are we? We will discuss. And all the Tigers can do now is try to avoid the sweep against the New York Mets with the day game and finale on getaway day tomorrow. Of course, we'll have our biggest talking point, our turning point, and our player of the game. It's all next, so buckle up and dial it in. It's the Locked On Tigers post-game show. And as the comments come flying in, it's my reminder to sound off, because hopefully you're as frustrated as I am. And we begin with our biggest talking point, where I am most worried about this team, our games and nights like tonight.
This is what you'll be talking about.
I don't think this team has the pitching, and it all goes back to the conversation we've had time and time again, where we got to be real with one another. We got to live in reality of what this team is, what this team has, the guys they have, and decide whether or not it stacks up against some of the premier teams in all of baseball, in the American League, the National League, whatever it is. Because, again, I have World Series aspirations. I really do. I think you lead the division for as many days as the Tigers have. You win as many baseball games as the Tigers have. You have to have World Series expectations. Otherwise, what's the point? And I know we're building for the future, and that's all we can ever talk about with this organization. But, man, it just years like there were special moments at times in this season, and there still can be. But on a Tuesday night on September 2nd, I am feeling really, really down about this team. It doesn't seem to bother them. You got Jake Rogers on the mound, the crowd going crazy after he induces a double play in the top of the 9th, and the broadcast. And I know it's all funny and everything else. But I feel like nobody else is. It's just, we'll get him next time. And maybe I'm wrong in that. And I get there's 162 of these, and you're going to have off nights and bad nights and everything else. But my word, tonight was just embarrassing. It was totally embarrassing the way they just rocked Tigers pitching. And that's the biggest talking point. I think I already played the sounder. That's how out of it I am on this. Sawyer Gipson-Long gets the loss. 4 innings. He got shelled for 6 earned runs. And the Chris Paddack, I don't want to call it an experiment. The Chris Paddack conversation. He's not good. He's not a big league pitcher. That was one of the moves, one of the bargain bin shopping moves that Scott Harris made at the deadline. I'm not going to go off on another tangent, but let's all just get to the agreement that Chris Paddack is not a good pitcher. He can't get guys out in the major leagues. And I hate to overly simplify it like that. And I'm sorry for the negativity in my voice, but man, the last 2 days, it's like, what are we doing with this team? And it just gets so frustrating that's why, or that's who this Detroit Tigers team is. So I've talked enough. You guys know how I feel. There was no offense until you get the 2 runs in the first or whatever it is, but you're not going to win any games when you give up 12 runs. So I'm not going to blame the offense. I'm going to blame the pitching and acknowledge that it is a real cause for concern where this team is at on September the 2nd. Jimmy Card Collector is up first, starting pitching in shambles, except for Skubal. I would agree with that. DT Lions, we can't beat good teams. Blue Jays and Mets series proves that. I agree. Tyler Patterson, Jake Rogers was the best pitcher all night. Had to say, Paddock stinks. Indeed. Noah Murray. I know everyone's going to be upset about this one, but I'm going to try and be positive. At least I seem to realize that Paddock isn't a starter. Yeah, that was one of the developments. You got Paddock in the bullpen eating up pointless innings when your team's already down. But this season has been too good and meant too much to just say, oh, well, we got bad players. And I'm not picking on Noah because I agree there is something to be said about, hey, at least they're acknowledging that Paddock is not a starter. But man, I am distraught. Distraught's a good way to put it. Fat Marv says we better not see Paddock again this season. SMH. Demetrius McNeil is up next. Jake, if this pitching staff doesn't throw strikes, you're going to get wrecked. And it's up to Casey Mize to throw some strikes. Come back next game. Yeah, Casey Mize will start tomorrow in the day game in the series finale to try to salvage a game. Gray Matter is up next, and he says Chris Paddock needs to go. Detroit Lions says Paddock can't even pitch out of the bullpen. Also, Colt Keith has been awful these last couple of weeks, average down to low 250s. Yeah, Colt Keith's not going anywhere, though. He signed that big contract. It is what it is, and I hate to use that crutch phrase, but, man, I don't think Colt Keith is huge of concern for this team quite yet. All right, Jeffrey Leckrone says, glad we didn't give up much for Paddock. Yeah, we didn't give up much for anybody because we went bargain hunting in the clearance rack because that's what our general manager does. Jeff S. says, let's face it, folks, this team is going to have a very short playoff run. It feels like that. I'm not even going to try and argue that because I'm usually the most positive one around here, and sometimes that gets me in trouble. All right, Lego City Dad, most of these Tigers were drafted by Avila. Our team is pretty good. Scuba was drafted by Avila. So what has this GM done? Yeah. Listen, Scott Harris is a very, very complicated discussion. I think you look at the addition of Finnegan, and I've always been the biggest, skeptic of Scott Harris and critic. I've been skeptical as a critic there. That sometimes it's hard to make words in my head, but in a way, I think we owe it to Scott Harris to see how this run plays out. And right now it's not feeling like it's going to last very long. And I think we can all agree with that. Sean Gray, that was embarrassing. Pitchers have been so bad. It was. Amber Kiafani, maybe I'm saying that right. Maybe I'm not. Can't believe this game. They could have done better. I thought Rogers was a hitter, not a pitcher. Well, when your pitching is as bad as the Tigers, you got to put position players in to pitch there. All right. Mike says Tigers should get Sister Jean as a number 2 starter. Not a bad idea. She's probably available. In fact, that's what we're going to do the rest of the postcast tonight. Just name any random person that could pitch for the Tigers right now. I'm just kidding. Sean Gray, I can't stand when Tigers are getting blown out and Benetti and Dirks are laughing and joking the whole time. Yeah, that's what they do. I'm with you. I mean, sometimes it's worse than others. Tonight, it was just like, ho, 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 we're losing, and curly fries and you know, pickleball, and I don't know what else they did. It's just, I'm with you, man. I get like, you just, you know, there's a fine line, I guess, and I don't know. Larry Dana David queued up for Scott Harris to get thrown under the bus. It only takes 2 games. Yeah, I mean, I would argue these 2 games are rather concerning, and I understand not getting too high and not getting too low, but at the same time, you got to react to what you just saw, and that was bad. Noah Murray says, seems like maybe we could use some pitching chaos with a few of those guys for 2 to 3 innings max, but we seem to keep them in too long. Yeah, the pitching chaos, I just don't think it was sustainable. I know the Tigers implemented that last year and had some success, but I just don't think you build a ball club that way. JP says Tigers play quality teams. They get beat. This team is not built to win a World Series. Can't win with one pitcher and no clutch hitting. I would agree with all of that. I also agree with Noah Murray here. Melton needs 100% to go back to starting. I agree. Okay, let's take a quick break. We got to keep the lights on here at Locked On, and we'll be right back. After this, we'll have our biggest turning point and our player of the game next on a live Locked On Tigers postcast. This episode of the Locked On Tigers postcast is brought to you by FanDuel, and it's also brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. That's right. Oh, my friends. All right. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic booze. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. And whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power through your day, 5 Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. What's the wildest shot you've ever made on the golf course? That's what having 5 Hour Energy feels like. Everybody can relate to a nice rush of flavor. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. The great ginger lime flavor of 5 Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without ever leaving the course or chasing down the bev cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win your dream golf trip to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st. Today's episode is also brought to you by our good friends at FanDuel. That's right. Listen up, my friends, because FanDuel today is the day. I don't know why it says this. All right. Football season is here. I'm going to do my best. Football season is here, and FanDuel adds even more excitement, giving you deals on all kinds of NFL seasons. If you just bet $5, if you're new to FanDuel, and you can win $300 in bonus bets. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com. Visit the FanDuel app today. Start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game, and it all happens at FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. We're cruising right along and alive. Locked On Tigers postcast. I appreciate everybody tuning on in. And this is a great comment from 3 Crown Miggy 24. Jared Goff. I know that's going to upset some people. It's so funny to see how hotly contested that topic of conversation is for whatever reason. People get so triggered by other Detroit sports fans chanting Jared Goff's name. But speaking of that, Dylan Larkin was in the booth tonight. I think that was probably the highlight of the game. So let's get right to it. Our biggest turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
That's right. I got to imagine the turning point in this one was when Chris Paddock went on the mound, because it was still a ball game at that point. But then again, Sawyer Gipson-Long getting absolute shelled somewhat turns the game around as well. But looking at the box score and when this game, went to hell is when Chris Paddock came to pitch. He gives up, make sure I have it right here. It gives up 6 earned runs and 8 hits over an inning and a third. Like, it's embarrassing. It's not even worth dissecting. He's not a big league pitcher. How about our player of the game?
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
You could go with any player for the Mets, but Pete Alonso, multi-home run game, both solo shots, so just the 2 RBI, but 2 home runs for him. Juan Soto had another big blast, and for Juan Soto, another multi-hit game, and for 3 hits for Nemo. It just up and down this Mets roster. It's just feasting. They're feasting on Tigers pitching. That's all you can say in this one. So a really disappointing night. And I don't know how to hide the emotion or the disappointment or the anger at times. Love this baseball team so much, but nights like tonight, double palms up. I mean, what are we doing? So tomorrow it's Casey Mize on the mound. The Tigers will look to salvage a game. And as we look at the schedule ahead, the homestand continues with the White Sox over the weekend. You get that nice off day on Thursday. So hopefully the Tigers can regroup, but it starts tomorrow with a win in a series win with Casey Mize going for the Tigers. So, and for the New York Mets, Clay Holmes will pitch for the New York Mets. Really disappointing night in every facet for the Detroit Tigers. I wish it wasn't that way, but unfortunately, that's the reality. Tigers lose to the New York Mets 12-5, the final. And I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight, despite it being a lousy episode based on my mood, based on the result of the game, and based on everything that transpired. Tigers will look to avoid the sweep. Love you guys. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Day baseball from Comerica Park. Postcast afterwards. Make sure you like and subscribe. And it all happens on the Locked On Tigers postcast and the Locked On Tigers Network.